Doctor First, originated by Roger Hargreaves, written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves, read by Chris Rush. "Good morning, Grandfather," said Susan. "Good? I don't think there's anything good about it," grumbled the doctor, who was not in a good mood. And why was he not in a good mood? It was the TARDIS. It had been making clonking noises all night long and kept the doctor awake. Something was wrong, and the doctor knew that he was going to have to land somewhere and fix the problem. The nearest planet was Earth. The doctor did not like Earth. It was a small, ugly planet populated by particularly irritating people. Particularly irritating and not very clever people. But the doctor had no choice. He and Susan landed in London. The doctor was in one of those moods where he was best left alone. He set about fixing the TARDIS, and this put him in a better mood. He whistled as he worked. Whistling was something that the doctor rarely did. The TARDIS was soon mended, and it was time to go. But where was Susan? Out exploring in the city, no doubt. The doctor waited and waited, and then he waited some more. He began to worry and decided that he had better go and look for Susan. He stepped out of the TARDIS and was immediately confronted by a group of strangely dressed people. The doctor was appalled by their casual dress sense. "Hey, man, what's your name?" asked one of the badly dressed people. "The doctor," replied the doctor. "Hi, Doc. Nice to meet you." The doctor frowned. "I am not Doc. I am the doctor. I am a Time Lord." "Wow, groovy." The doctor frowned again. Groovy was another word he did not like. The doctor had an awful feeling that all was not well, so he began his search for Susan. As he passed a dark alleyway, a movement caught his eye. There was something lurking in the shadows. The doctor's quick mind instantly suspected an alien. Cautiously, he crept down the alley. Suddenly, a door opened, and the light from the doorway revealed that the shape in the shadows was a cat. With a sigh of relief, the doctor returned to the street. He was still troubled. He could not put his finger on it, but he felt a strong sense that something wasn't right. and when he turned the corner, he discovered he was not wrong, he was right. It was the Cybermen. They were in London, and they were not on holiday. The doctor knew the Cybermen well enough to know that they were not sightseeing. Cybermen were not interested in the changing of the guard. Cybermen were not interested in souvenirs. What they were interested in was taking over the world. The doctor ran for his life as the Cybermen fired their lasers at him. The doctor was not fast. He was far from the fastest thing on two legs, but he could still outrun the Cybermen, for in fact the Cybermen could not run. He had to find Susan, and as luck would have it, he found her on the next street. She was listening to some music on a radio, pop music. The doctor would not have described pop music as music. He would have described it as noise. The doctor frowned, but it gave him an idea. He made some quick adjustments to the radio. The radio waves drifted down the street, and the effect on the Cybermen was extraordinary. They were thrown into confusion. The wires crossed in their mechanical brains. Their legs jerked, and their arms whirled. They did not know whether to take over the world or to dance. It was all too much for them. They turned tail and fled for their spaceship. The effect was equally dramatic on the doctor. He smiled. "You're smiling?" cried Susan in amazement. "Nonsense," he huffed. "Time Lords don't smile." And not for the first time that day, well, can you guess? That's right. He frowned. Dr. Third. Originated by Roger Hargreaves. Written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves. Read by Chris Rush. The doctor had been out shopping, and he was rushing back to his laboratory in Bessie, his little yellow car. "No time to waste," he murmured to himself. The doctor was in a terrific hurry. Now, Bessie was no ordinary car. The doctor had added a few special modifications, one of which was a hyperdrive button that would make Bessie travel at supersonic speeds. The doctor was about to press the button when he spotted someone waving on the side of the road. It was Mike Yates. His Land Rover had broken down. "Hello," said Mike. "Any chance of a lift?" Yes, said the doctor agitatedly. "But make it quick. I need to get back to the lab as soon as possible." "Blimey, sounds important," said Mike, jumping in. The doctor nodded. "It is," he said. roaring off down the road. Some sort of experiment, is it? Asked Mike. You might say that, muttered the doctor. The doctor was again about to press the hyperdrive button when they saw someone on the side of the road again. It was Liz Shaw, who was just coming out of the library. Her arms were full of very heavy-looking science books. That's Liz, said Mike. Looks like she needs a lift. Owls bows, grumbled the doctor, pulling over to let Liz in. Make it quick, said Mike. The doctor's in a terrible hurry. Some sort of urgent experiment. Really? Said Liz. Anything interesting? Very, said the doctor, jamming Bessie into gear. I bet it's a top-secret experiment, suggested Mike. Possibly, said the doctor tensely. For the third time that day, he was about to press hyperdrive when their journey was interrupted again. It was Jo Grant. They stopped to give her a lift. It was a very overloaded Bessie that set off again. A very old and slow Bessie. Good grief, cried the doctor in exasperation. Is it starting to snow? Asked Jo. It is, replied Mike. How odd. Snow in the middle of summer, commented Liz. I think it's getting worse, said Jo, and indeed it was. They were suddenly driving through a blizzard, and then, without any warning, Bessie skidded sideways and slid into a ditch. Blast! Cried the doctor in consternation. As they were trying to lift Bessie back onto the road, a line of figures appeared on the ridge above them. Crikey! Cried Liz. Those are ice warriors. They must have made it snow, said Mike. The ice warriors then raised their sonic disruptors and fired at the snowy slope, setting off a huge avalanche. Quick! Cried the doctor. Everyone back in the car! The avalanche thundered down the hill, threatening to engulf them. But at the last moment, the doctor hit hyperdrive. Bessie lurched forward, and the avalanche lifted them up out of the ditch. The hyperdrive allowed them to surf on top of the advancing avalanche. As the avalanche slowed, Bessie shot clear of the snow and back onto the safety of the road. Hold on, Doctor, cried Mike. But the doctor was still in a dreadful hurry. We must get back to the lab before it's too late, he cried. He screeched to a halt outside the lab and grabbed a grocery bag out of the car. The others followed excitedly, wondering what amazing event they were about to witness. In the laboratory, they crowded round as the doctor pulled a tub out of the bag. "That's ice cream!" exclaimed Liz. "What was all the rush about?" asked Mike. The doctor pulled the lid off the tub. "Bother!" he cried, crestfallen. "It's melted." Mike and Liz and Joe all looked at the doctor. "You mean that was what was so urgent?" laughed Joe. The doctor glowered at the tub of ice cream. "Where's an ice warrior when you need one?" he huffed. Dr. Forth, originated by Roger Hargreaves, written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves, read by Chris Rush. "Come along, Sarah," cried the doctor. The doctor and Sarah Jane were running away. It seemed to Sarah Jane that the two of them spent an awful lot of their time running, and mainly running away. And what were they running away from this time? They were running away from the Daleks. "Seek, locate, exterminate," grated the Daleks in their metallic voices. Daleks don't run, but they do chase. The Daleks were a terrible alien race, intent on just one thing: to destroy, to exterminate. To exterminate everything. Although some Daleks were rather better at exterminating than others, like number Z403, better known to his friends as Dale. Dale, the Dalek's energy ray, was not so convincing. "What are we going to do?" puffed Sarah Jane. "That's simple," cried the doctor. "Keep running and don't get exterminated." Which, it had to be said, made perfect sense. "If we can get to the TARDIS, then we can lead the Daleks away from this planet," said the doctor, skidding round a corner into an alleyway. "Doctor, that's a dead end," warned Sarah Jane. "What are we going to do?" "Climb the ladder, of course," said the doctor. And to Sarah Jane's surprise, there was indeed a ladder. "But how did you know?" began Sarah Jane. "Keep up, Sarah," said the doctor, clambering over the wall. "And don't forget to pull the ladder up behind you and bring it with you." The wall stopped the Daleks, but not for long. The Daleks did not need a ladder. In fact, Daleks don't climb ladders. Daleks have energy rays. and in a matter of moments they had exterminated the wall. Sabberjane and the doctor came to a wide river. There was a drawbridge, but the control lever was on the other side. "Would you like a jelly, baby?" asked the doctor. "I don't think this is the moment to be handing out jelly babies," she cried in exasperation. "Not you," said the doctor, "that pigeon." Sure enough, one of the pigeons did want a jelly baby. As it took off, it knocked the drawbridge lever, and the doctor and Sabberjane were able to safely cross the river. With the drawbridge raised once again, they had escaped one lot of Daleks. Daleks don't swim, and they don't like jelly babies. In fact, the list of things that Daleks can't do is long. But not as long as the list of things that Daleks don't like. They don't like kittens. They don't like flowers. They don't like ice cream. And they definitely don't like tennis. There is only one thing Daleks like, and that is exterminating things. The doctor and Sabberjane were now faced with more Daleks blocking the road ahead. "Now where's it gone?" said the doctor. "Where's what gone?" asked Sabberjane. "Really, Sabber, you must keep up." "Ah, there it is." Sabberjane was becoming more puzzled by the minute as they climbed onto the bicycle that the doctor had been looking for. "Pedal faster!" cried the doctor as they weaved between the Daleks standing in the road, avoiding the energy rays. There was only one Dalek close enough to stop them. Luckily, it was Dale. Once they'd avoided the Daleks, they came to another road. A very busy road. Fortunately, there was a stop sign that held back the traffic, and the doctor and Sabberjane paddled across. But there was nothing to stop the Daleks from doing the same. Or was there? Beside the stop sign was a bucket of paint and a brush. "Well, that's lucky," cried Sabberjane, grabbing the brush and painting over the stop sign. "Luck?" said the doctor. "Nothing to do with luck. It's called good planning. Don't forget the paint bucket." Now that the traffic was no longer held back by the stop sign, the cars roared off, and by the time the Daleks reached the road, it was too busy to cross. Finally, they reached the TARDIS. "Why on earth did you make me bring all this stuff along with us?" Sabberjane asked. Well, there is a perfectly obvious reason. If we did not bring these things along, then how would we be able to go back and leave them for us to find later? The doctor replied. Oh, that's about as clear as mud, cried Sarah Jane. I do have a time machine, and I'm a Time Lord, so I can go back in time and practice. As we all know, practice makes perfect, and I never travel anywhere without a jelly baby. Dr. Fifth, originated by Roger Hargreaves, written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves, read by Chris Rush. It had been a very long day, but 5 minutes in the zero room would set the doctor right. That's just what the doctor ordered, announced the doctor when he woke. Although I do feel a bit peckish, I fancy a snack. We're all out of food, said Nyssa, looking in the fridge. Not a sausage. We'd better pop down to Earth and restock, said the doctor. The doctor let Adric take the TARDIS controls, and they landed in the car park of a supermarket. Well, that's not the cleverest bit of parking I've ever seen, commented Tegan. At least I'm allowed to fly the TARDIS, said Adric, bristling. No, said the doctor. No bickering, please. They all walked into the supermarket, where the doctor had the strangest feeling. He could have sworn that he had seen the little old lady pushing a shopping trolley before. There was something very familiar about her. Maybe it was the beard. However, the doctor was quickly distracted by the thought of what to eat. They wandered from aisle to aisle. They peered down the canned goods aisle. We're not going down there, declared the doctor. That's the sort of canned good I would like to avoid. How about a pizza? Suggested Nyssa. Perfect, agreed the doctor. Adric rushed ahead to the freezer section to have a look. Can you help me? Asked the little old lady when he got there. Adric happily opened the freezer door for her. Where's Adric got to? We should stick together, complained Tegan. I have discovered, living with the doctor, that going off on your own only leads to trouble. And sure enough, when they got to the freezer section, Adric was in trouble. He was trapped in a freezer. I knew it, cried Tegan. Quick, let's get him out, said the doctor. But as they opened the door, the little old lady rushed at them from behind and knocked them into the freezer with her trolley. They were all trapped. Well, I think we can safely say that This is all Adric's fault, said Tegan. Adric glared at her. Or at least he tried to, but his face was frozen. Fooled you, cried a voice from outside the freezer. It was the master, gleefully waving a little old lady's wig and dress. Welcome to my trap. I knew I recognized you from somewhere, exclaimed the doctor. Doctor, I'm cold, stuttered Nyssa. Braveheart Nyssa, said the doctor, pulling out his sonic screwdriver. Let me guess. A sonic screwdriver to the rescue? What a surprise, mocked Tegan. Stand back, cried the doctor. Easier said than done in a freezer, muttered Tegan. Then the doctor blasted the freezer door off its hinges. They leaped from the freezer to discover all the shelves in the supermarket had been moved around. The master has rearranged the store, cried Nyssa, and she was right. The master had created an impossible maze. It's my trap within a trap, laughed the master. You'll never find your way out. What we need, said the doctor, is a bag of frozen peas. Frozen peas? Questioned Adric. What a ridiculous suggestion. But he was wrong. Because as they explored the maze, the doctor left a trail of peas, so they knew where they had been and were able to find a way out. To the TARDIS, cried the doctor as they escaped from the supermarket. But the TARDIS was nowhere to be seen. The pickup truck had driven away. They ran around the car park, searching for some sign of it. There, cried Nyssa suddenly. And there was the TARDIS, emerging from a car wash on the back of the pickup truck. Once they'd got the TARDIS back from the truck driver and were safely aboard, the doctor retired to the Zero Room for much-needed rest. It had been a long day. 5 minutes later, he appeared, refreshed and restored. Just what the doctor ordered, he said, although I do feel rather peckish. Dr. Sixth, originated by Roger Hargreaves, written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves, read by Chris Rush. The Doctor and Perry were travelling through time in the TARDIS when the Doctor suddenly looked concerned. This is most unusual, cried the Doctor. Time is being twisted. But how do you know? Asked Perry. How do I know? Spluttered the Doctor. Look at the clock. Quick, we must land. The TARDIS is twisting. It can't travel through twisted time, exclaimed the Doctor. He then steered the TARDIS towards the nearest planet. Unknown to the Doctor and Perry, there was another TARDIS that had already landed on the planet. Another TARDIS and another Time Lord, or rather a Time Lady. The Doctor and Perry stepped out of their TARDIS and went to explore the planet. It was a quite unusual place, but in a strangely familiar way. I think this is the Blue Planet, said the Doctor. You don't say, laughed Perby. We must find what is causing time to twist so catastrophically. It is a conundrum that presently bamboozles me, but I have absolute confidence that I shall achieve a positive resolution, announced the doctor. So, what you are trying to say, in your long-winded way, is that you are going to sort everything out, said Perry, grinning. You could say that, but it is not so eloquent, huffed the doctor. Suddenly, they were surrounded by a crowd of locals. A crowd of angry-looking locals. Angry blue locals. They don't look very friendly, remarked the doctor. Doctor, what's happening? Cried Perry. Are they taking us prisoner? I have a suspicion that we are about to find out who is behind all this, said the doctor. And the doctor, who was rarely ever wrong, was right. The Rani, he cried, as the crowd parted to reveal the Rani. Hello, old friend, the Rani greeted him. Having trouble with your TARDIS? So it is you who has twisted time, exclaimed the doctor. Look, Perry, rather than a key, she has used a corkscrew to wind up the time continuum. And she has hypnotized all these poor locals and taken control of their minds, he added, getting redder in the face by the second. The doctor puffed out his chest and threw back his head. You despicable, vile creature! He bellowed. A boiling anger had grown in the doctor, and he now roared and thundered all his rage at the Rani. The force of his anger was so great that he shook the crowd of locals right out of their hypnosis. The Rani lost her control of their minds, and the locals of the Blue Planet were once again free. The Rani, realizing that all the plans were lost, turned on a heel and ran. Stop her! Ordered the doctor, but it was too late. The Rani had disappeared. The doctor asked the crowd to go and capture the Rani's TARDIS so that she could not escape from the planet. While his orders are being carried out, the doctor carefully removed the corkscrew from the time continuum and rewound it with the correct key. You really outsmarted the Rani, said Perry. I did, didn't I? Said the doctor, beaming proudly. Still, when you have a brain as prodigiously clever as mine, it is not so difficult. Unlike a little modesty, murmured Perry. What's that? Spluttered the doctor. Oh, nothing, said Perry. I was just mentioning your honesty. As the doctor and Perry were returning to their TARDIS, they heard a sudden cry. Come back with my TARDIS! It was the Rani chasing after a crowd of locals who were carrying off her TARDIS. Having trouble with your TARDIS? The doctor cried with a smile. Dr. Seventh, originated by Roger Hargreaves, written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves. The doctor and Ace were on a walk through the woods. They were going to meet the doctor's friends for tea. "You're going to love it," said the doctor, "and you're going to love my friends." "I don't see why we didn't just take the TARDIS," complained Ace. "Because there is nothing like a walk through the woods in the fresh air," explained the doctor. "It's boring. That's what it is," disagreed Ace. "A boring walk to see your boring old friends. Nonsense. It'll be fun," said the doctor. However, when they reached the doctor's friend's house, there was no one at home. "How strange. I definitely arranged to meet for tea at 3 o'clock today," said the doctor, looking at his watch. "And it is most definitely 3 o'clock, and quite positively today. Maybe they couldn't face the thought of how boring it was going to be," suggested Ace, unhelpfully. It was then that the doctor spotted some fresh footprints leading away into the woods. And one set of the footprints were those of a huge cat. "Well, this just went from boring to interesting," said Ace. They set off in pursuit. They'd not gone far when 2 figures leaped out, blocking their path. "Goodness gracious," cried the doctor. "It's the cheetah people. Blimey! From interesting to exciting in a matter of moments. I think I can hold them off," shouted Ace, rummaging in a bag. "I don't think that's wise," said the doctor. The doctor and Ace dived off the path and sprinted through the undergrowth down into a ravine. However, the escape route was blocked by a fallen tree. "Oh my!" cried the doctor. "Now we're in a pickle. No problem. Things have just gone from exciting to fun," said Ace, pulling a stick of dynamite from a bag. "Let's blow it up." "I don't think that's wise," said the doctor. "We'll have to climb out." At the top of the ravine, they saw a figure a little way off. "There's someone who might help us," said the doctor. But then the figure turned round. "We're not gonna get any help from him," said Ace. "Oh dear, you're right," agreed the doctor. "That's the master." "Look at that rock. We could blow it up and trap him," suggested Ace. "I don't think explosives are really necessary," said the doctor, picking up a pine cone and tossing it at the rock. The rock was so precariously balanced that it took only the extra weight of the pine cone to bring it tumbling down, causing an avalanche. "Clever," admitted Ace. "But an explosion would have been more fun." The doctor and Ace continued cautiously through the woods until they came to the edge of a clearing, where it became clear just what the cheetah people were doing on Earth. They had captured the doctor's friends. "What we need is this," said Ace, grinning and holding up her stick of dynamite. What we need is a carefully thought-out plan, said the doctor. I think this calls for a bit of the old magic. A short while later, the doctor stepped into the clearing. Roll up, he called. Prepare to be amazed. Prepare for the marvelous acts of magic and preposterous powers of prestidigitation and astonishing feats of conjuring. With that, the doctor produced a length of rope from thin air and proceeded to perform a series of magic tricks. The cheetah people gathered round in amazement and confusion. The doctor finished his act by making the rope stand on end in midair. Now I just need the help from a member of the audience, he said. You, sir. Might I ask you to pull on the end of this rope? One of the cheetah people stepped forward and pulled on the rope. A huge net fell on the branches above, trapping the cheetah people and allowing Ace to release the doctor's fence from the cage. "Ah, Professor," said Ace, looking sadly at a stick of dynamite. "All that action, but I didn't get to blow anything up." "True," said the doctor with a smile, "but at least it wasn't boring." And that's the end of the first pieces of the Doctor Who Mr. Man books, based off the first, 7th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 6th Doctors. These were borrowed from the Kingston Library and will be returned later or now.